Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to discuss the RCOG guidelines regarding the external cephalic version, and also later we will discuss the guidelines regarding the pre-presentation delivery. These guidelines are very important for your Viva point of view as well as your written examinations. So starting with the executive summary of recommendations, external cardiac version. One thing I want to make you clear that this is only the summary or very important points regarding the guidelines. So starting with the executive summary of recommendation regarding the external cephalic version, question number 1 will be how effective is the ECV in preventing the non-cephalic birth. For that, women they should be informed that the success rate of the external cephalic version is approximately 50%. Result vary from 30% up to 80% in different series. An overall success rate for the nulliparous females is 40%, and for the multiparous women it is 60%. So after an unsuccessful ECV attempts at 36 weeks gestation or later, only a few babies represented by the breech they will spontaneously turning to the cephalic presentation. Few babies they revert to breech after successful ECV. A successful ECV reduces the chances of cesarean section. Labor after ECV is associated with the slight increased rate of cesarean section and instrumental delivery when compared with the spontaneous cephalic presentation. ECV success can be predicted to some extent, but the use of the models to predict the success they should not be used routinely to determine whether the ECV can be attempted. So question number 2, what methods can be used to improve the success of ECV? The use of tocolysis with beta-mimetic, they improves the success rate of the ECV. Routine use of the regional anesthesia or the neuraxial blockage is not recommended, but they may be considered for the repeat attempts for the women unable to tolerate the ECV without the analgesia. When should ECV be offered? ECV they should be offered at term from the 37 weeks of the gestation. In nulliparous women, it can be offered from the 36 weeks, and there is no general consensus or the contraindication to ECV. What are the contraindication to the ECV? There are few absolute contraindications to ECV. Absolute contraindications for ECV that are likely to be associated with the increased mortality and morbidities when there is cesarean delivery is required, antepartum hemorrhage within last 7 days, abnormal cardiotocography, major uterine anomaly, ruptured membranes, and multiple pregnancies. Relative contraindication includes where the ECV might be complicated, the small for gestation age with the abnormal Doppler parameters, the proteinuric preeclampsia, oligohydramnios, major fetal anomalies, scarred uterus, and unstable lie. ECV was considered contraindicated in only 5% of the cases with the breech presentation at term, and with an unstable lie, ECV is the only logical in contrast to a stabilizing the induction. Women they should be informed that the ECV after one cesarean delivery appears to have no greater risk than an unscarred uterus. So what are the risks for the ECV? The women they should be counseled that with the appropriate precautions, ECV has a very low complication rate. ECV they should be performed where the facilities for the monitoring and surgical deliveries are available. The standard preoperative preparation for cesarean sections are not recommended for the women undergoing the ECV. Women undergoing ECV who are D negative, they should undergo testing for the fetal maternal hemorrhage and be offered the NTD. ECV they should only be performed by a trained practitioner or by a trainee working under the supervision, direct supervision. Urgent delivery they should also be advised following the procedure if there is vaginal bleeding or unexplained abdominal pain or if there is abnormal CTG. The uptake of ECV is best increased by the timely identification of the babies presenting by the breech and the provision of evidence based information. Labor after ECV is associated with the slight increased risk of the cesarean section and instrument vaginal delivery when compared with the spontaneous cephalic presentation. There is no evidence to support any particular service model, although the large institution they may consider a dedicated ECV clinic. All women undergoing ECV they should be offered detailed information, preferably written, concerning the risks and benefits of the procedure. Consent they may also be appropriate. Is ECV safe? Women they should be counseled that ECV has a very low complication rate. Women they should be alert to potential complication of ECV. ECV is rarely associated with the complications. Nevertheless, a few cases they report exist of the complications such as placental abruption, uterine rupture, and the fetal-maternal hemorrhage. Where ECV fails, the possibility of the future attempt they should be discussed. What is the role of non-ECV method? Women may wish to consider the use of the moxibustion for the breech delivery at 33 to 35 weeks of the gestation under the guidance of trained practitioner. Women they should be advised that there is no evidence that the postal management alone promotes the spontaneous version to the cephalic presentation. So that was previously all about the ECV. Every woman they should be offered for ECV at term more than or equal to 37 weeks in order to prevent the cesarean section as much as possible. Now moving towards the RCOG guidelines for the management of the breech presentation. The purpose and the scope, the aim of the guideline is to provide up-to-date information on the mode of the delivery for the woman with the breech presentation. The scope is confined to the decision making regarding the route of the delivery and the choices of various techniques used during the delivery. Now introduction and the background epidemiology. Breech delivery they occurs in 3 to 4% of the deliveries and is most common preterm. It is associated with the uterine and congenital anomalies, has a significant recurrence rate, and is more common in the nulliparous woman. Term babies, presenting by the breech, they have worse outcome than the cephalic ones, irrespective of the mode of the delivery. Women, they should be informed that the adherence to a protocol for the management reduces the chance of early neonatal morbidity. While involving pushing may occur earlier, encouragement of the maternal effort they should not start until the breech is visible. Once the buttock they have passed the perineum, the significant cord compression is common. Traction they should not be done. A hand-off approach is required, but with appropriate and the timely intervention of if progress is not made occur the once umbilicus they has delivered and there is a poor tone. Extended arms or the extended neck. Tactile stimulation of the fetus they may result in the reflex extension of the arms or the head and they should be minimized. The care they must be taken in all maneuvers to avoid the fetal trauma. The fetus they should be grafts around the pelvic girdle, not the soft tissue, and the neck they should never be hyperextended. Selective rather than routine episiotomy is recommended. Signs that the delivery they should be assisted includes the lack of the tone and the color or the delay and commonly used to extend the arms of the extended neck. In general, intervention to expedite the breech delivery is required if there is the evidence of poor fetal condition or if there is a delay of more than 5 minutes from the delivery of the buttock to the head or if there is 3 minutes from the umbilicus to the head. The semi-recumbent position. There is a little comparative evidence regarding the techniques of the assisted breech delivery. If the back they starts to rotate posteriorly, the gentle rotation without the traction they should be used to ensure that it remains anterior. Once the scapula is visible, the arm they can be hooked down by the inserting a finger in the elbow and flexing the arms across the chest, or if the knuckle. Loftus maneuver is advised. Delivery is achieved either with the Mauritius smelly weight maneuver or with the forceps. Suprapubic pressure will aid flexion if there is a delay due to the extended neck. Delivery they usually using the Bern-Marshall technique is not advised due to the concern of overextension of the fetal neck. The woman with the breech presentation at term. They should be offered external cephalic version unless there is an absolute contraindication. They should be advised on the risk and the benefits of the external cephalic version and the implication of the mode of the delivery. Following an unsuccessful or detailed offer of ECV, they should be counseled on the risk and the benefits and planned vaginal delivery versus the planned cesarean section. Planned cesarean section they lead to a small reduction in the perinatal morbidity compared with the planned vaginal breech delivery. Any decision to perform a cesarean section they need to be balanced against the potential adverse consequences that may result from this. Women they should be informed that the reduced risk is due to three factors: the avoidance of the stillbirth after the 39 weeks of the gestation, the avoidance of intrapartum risk and the risk of the vaginal breech birth, and the last is the unique to a breech baby. Women they should be informed that when planning the delivery for a breech baby, the risk of the perinatal morbidity is approximately 0.5 per thousand with the cesarean section after the 39 weeks of the gestation, and approximately 2 by thousand with the planned vaginal breech birth. This compares to approximately 1 by thousand with a planned cephalic birth. Selections of appropriate pregnancies and the skilled intrapartum care they may allow the planned vaginal breech birth to the nearly as safe as the planned vaginal cephalic birth. Women they should be informed that the planned vaginal breech birth increases the risk of the low APGAR scores and the serious short-term complications, but has not been shown to increase the risk of the long-term morbidity. The clinician they should be counsel women in an unbiased way to ensure a proper understanding of the absolute as well as the relative risk of their different options. What information should women they having the breech birth be given about their own immediate and the future health? Women they should be informed that the planned cesarean section for a breech presentation at term carries a small increase in immediate complications for the mother compared with the planned vaginal birth. Women they should be informed that the maternal complications are least with the successful vaginal birth. Planned cesarean section carries a high risk, but the risk is highest with the emergency cesarean section, which is needed in approximately 40% of the women planning a vaginal breech birth. Women they should be informed that the cesarean section increases the risk of complication in the future pregnancy, including the risk of opting for the vaginal birth after the cesarean section, the increased risk of the complication at the repeat cesarean section, and the risk of an abnormally invasive placenta. Women they should be given an individualized assessment of the long-term risk of the cesarean sections based on their individual risk profile and reproductive interventions and the counsel accordingly. What information they should be given to women having breech birth be given about the health of their future babies. Women they should be informed that the cesarean section has been associated with a small increase in the risk of the stillbirth for the subsequent babies, although this may be casual. What factors affect the safety of the vaginal breech delivery? The antenatal assessment. Following the diagnosis of the persistent breech presentation, women they should be assessed for the risk factors for a poorer outcome in the planned vaginal breech delivery. If any risk factor is identified, the woman they should be counseled that the planned vaginal delivery is likely to be associated with the increased perinatal risk and that the delivery by cesarean section is recommended. Women they should be informed that the high risk planned vaginal breech delivery birth is expected where there are the independent indication for cesarean section and in the following circumstances: the hyperextended neck on the ultrasound, the high estimated fetal weight more than 3.8 kg and the low estimated fetal weight such as the less than 10th centile and the footling breach and the evidence of the antenatal fetal compromise. The role of pelvimetry is unclear. The presence of a skilled birth attendant is essential for the safe vaginal breech delivery. Units with the limited access to the experienced personnel, they should inform the woman that the vaginal breech birth is likely to be associated with the greater risk and offer the antenatal referral to the unit where the skill levels and the experience are greater. Intrapartum assessment and the management of the woman presenting the unplane with the breech presentation in the labor. Interpartum assessment and the management of the woman presenting the unplane with the breech presentation in the labor. When a woman presents with an unplanned vaginal breech labor, the management they should depend on the stage of the labor where the factors associated with the increased complications they are found. Availability of the appropriate clinical expertise are informed consents. Women they near or in the active second stage of the labor, they should not be routinely offered the cesarean section. Where there are the circumstances permit, the position of the fetal neck and the legs and the fetal weight they should be estimated using the ultrasonography and the women they counseled as with the planned vaginal breech delivery. All maternity units they must be able to provide skilled supervision for the vaginal breech birth when a woman is admitted in the advanced labor and protocol for their eventuality they should be developed. What is appropriate intrapartum management of the term breech? Women they should be informed that the induction of labor is not usually recommended. Augmentation of slow progress with the oxytocin they should only be considered if the contraindication in frequency is low in the presence of the epidural analgesia. Women they should be informed that the effects of the epidural analgesia on the success of the vaginal breech birth is unclear, but this is likely to increase the risk of the intervention. What fetal monitoring they should be recommended? Women they should be informed that the evidence is lacking the continuous electronic fetal monitoring, they may lead to the improved neonatal outcome. Birth in the hospital with the facilities for the immediate cesarean section, they should be recommended with the planned vaginal breech till birth, but the birth is an operating theatre is not routinely recommended. Guidelines they should be placed for the management of the breech delivery. Management of the first stage and the passive second stage. Adequate descent of the breech in the passive second stage is prerequisite of the encouragement of the active second stage. Either a semi-recumbent or all four position they may be adopted for the delivery, and they should depend on the maternal preference and of the experience of the attendant. If the latter position is used, the woman they should be advised that the recourse to the semi-recumbent position they may become the necessary. What are the principles for the management of the active second stage and the vaginal breech birth? Assistance without traction is required if there is delay or the evidence of the poor fetal condition. All obstetricians and midwives they should be familiar with the techniques that can be used to assist the vaginal breech birth. The choice of the maneuvers they use, if required to assist with the vaginal delivery of the breech, they should depend on the individual experience preference of the attending doctor or midwife. Women they should be informed that the induction of the labor is not usually recommended. Augmentation of the slow progress with the oxytocin they should only be considered if the contractions frequently is low in the presence of the epidural analgesia. Women they should be informed that the effect of the epidural analgesia on the success of the vaginal breech birth is unclear, but that it is likely to increase the risk of the intervention. Women they should be informed that while the evidence is lacking the continuous EFM, they may lead to the improved neonatal outcome. Women they should be informed that the adherence to a protocol for the management reduces the chances of early neonatal morbidity. Maternal outcome, the particularly short term, depends on the category of the lower segment cesarean sections with the emergency carrying a high risk that elective emergency cesarean section rates with the planned vaginal birth vary from 29 to 45%. Management of the preterm breech. How should preterm singleton babies in the breech presentation they should be delivered? Women they should be informed that the routine cesarean section for the breech presentation in the spontaneous preterm labor is not recommended. The mode of the delivery they should be individualized based on the stage of the labor, type of the breech presentation and fetal well-being, and the availability of an operator skilled in the vaginal breech delivery. Women they should be informed that the planned cesarean section is recommended for the preterm breech. How should labor with a singleton preterm breech be managed? They should be managed as with a term breech, where there is a head entrapment incision in the cervix, vaginal birth, or the vertical uterine incision extension cesarean section. They may be used with or without tocolysis. The management of the twin pregnancy. Women they should be informed that the evidence is limited, but the planned cesarean section for twin pregnancy, where the presenting twin is breech is recommended. Routine emergency cesarean section for a breech first twin is spontaneous pregnancy, however, is not recommended. The mode of delivery they should be individualized based on the cervical dilatation, the presenting part, the type of the breech presentation, fetal well-being, and availability of the operator skilled in the vaginal breech delivery. So this concludes our session, but there are the few things I want to make you clear, that when there are the twin deliveries, the extraction of the breech is allowed for the second twin, but it is not allowed for the first twin. And if the first twin is breech and it is not in spontaneous labor, you can go for the cesarean section. And more, if the first twin is breech but it is in spontaneous labor, then the cesarean section is not recommended. And second, if you want to see the video regarding the assisted breech delivery, you can have that video on our channel. So this concludes our session. If you like this session, hit the like, and hope I'm going to see you soon in the next guidelines. Thank you.